You know that feeling, right? That 2 a.m. alert that your database is down? Or spending a whole weekend patching servers when you'd rather be doing, well, literally anything else. It's all that hidden work that keeps our apps running. But what if you could just put all of that on autopilot? That's exactly what we're digging into today. Google Cloud SQL, a service that's all about doing the heavy lifting for you.
So here's the game plan. First, we're going to talk about the problem, what I call the database management headache. Then, we'll look at the cure, putting your database on autopilot. After that, we'll dive into the proof, how it's built to avoid downtime and keep everything secure and speedy. And finally, we'll figure out if this is actually the right tool for your specific job.
All right, let's kick things off with a feeling that's probably way too familiar for anyone working in tech. It's not the exciting stuff, not the new feature launch. It's that hidden, grinding, thankless work of just keeping the lights on.
I mean, this slide just says it all, doesn't it? That pager goes off, your heart sinks, and your night is officially over. And it's not just about fixing things when they break, it's that constant low-level hum of anxiety, that never-ending to-do list that comes with managing a database all by yourself.
And this right here, this is the real meat of the problem. This is that operational burden we're talking about. It's this heavy, constant weight on your shoulders. You're always patching software, trying to figure out backups, setting up replication just in case something fails. And then when it does fail, you're doing it all by hand. It's all the work that takes up all your time but doesn't actually move your product forward one bit.
So what's the alternative to carrying all that weight yourself? Well, this is where we get to the good part, the solution. The whole idea behind a service like Google Cloud SQL is pretty simple, actually. You take that entire awful to-do list and you just hand it over to an automated system.
Now, the most important phrase to understand here is fully managed service. Seriously, managed is the magic word. It means Google's own engineers are the ones staying up at night worrying about all that patching and the backups and the replication. You just get to focus on what actually matters, building your cool new application.
And the best part is, this isn't some brand new proprietary database you have to learn from the ground up. Nope. Cloud SQL runs the engines that basically power the entire internet: MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQL Server. You just bring your existing code, your existing skills, and it just works.
And honestly, this is a huge deal. It means moving your existing apps over is so much simpler. You're not getting locked into some weird vendor-specific technology. You're just running the same standard databases you already know and love, but with way less of the headache.
Okay, but talk is cheap, right? Any managed service is only as good as its reliability. So let's get into the proof. How does Cloud SQL actually keep your application online and running smoothly?
Okay, so this slide gets to the very heart of its reliability. Think about it like this. A zonal instance, that's like having one store in one part of town. If there's a big power outage in that neighborhood, well, your store is closed. But a regional instance, that's like having a second, totally identical store in a different part of town, and they're always in perfect sync. If the power goes out at the first location, you automatically reroute all your customers to the second one, and they barely even notice a hiccup. That second store, that synced copy, is the secret to high availability.
And when you go with that regional setup, you get a really powerful promise: a 99.95% availability service level agreement, or SLA. To put that in perspective, that's less than 22 minutes of potential downtime in an entire month. If you're running a critical application, this is the number that lets you actually sleep through the night.
So how does that failover magic actually happen? Well, it's kind of like a three-step dance that happens behind the scenes. First, the system detects that the main database has failed for some reason. Instantly, it promotes that standby copy to become the new primary. And then, it just seamlessly redirects all of your application's traffic over to the new one. The amazing part is that this whole thing is completely automatic and usually happens in less than a minute. Of course, staying online is one thing, but protecting your actual data is everything. Cloud SQL has that covered with automated daily backups. But the real lifesaver here is something called point-in-time recovery. Imagine a developer accidentally deletes a super important table. With this, you can restore the database not just to yesterday's backup, but to the exact second before that mistake happened. It turns a potential disaster into a minor hiccup. So we've established that it's reliable. But that's only half the battle, isn't it? A database also needs to be a fortress, totally secure, and, of course, fast enough for your users. So let's see how Cloud SQL does on that front.
Security always starts at the network. The absolute best way to do it with a private IP, which basically just hides your database from the public internet entirely. It can only be reached from inside your own secure network. And for other situations, there are tools like the Cloud SQL proxy that give you a secure, encrypted connection without you having to mess around with firewall rules and SSL certificates. So the next layer of security is all about who gets to see the data, and making sure that data is just gibberish to anyone else. You've got your standard database logins for controlling who can access data inside the database, and then Google's IAM system controls who can manage the whole thing. And the really critical part, all your data is encrypted automatically, both when it's just sitting on a disk and when it's flying across the network.
And yeah, of course, being reliable and secure doesn't mean a thing if your app is painfully slow. Performance is baked right in with super fast storage and easy ways to scale up. But the real game changer is a tool they have called Query Insights. Think of it like a performance detective for your database. It automatically finds the exact queries that are slowing everything down, letting you fix them before your users even start to complain.
Okay, let's be real. No tool, no matter how great, is perfect for every single job out there. So to make a really smart decision, we have to look at where Cloud SQL might not be the best fit.
Every tool has its limits, and it's just good to know what they are. For the vast majority of applications, Cloud SQL has more than enough firepower. But if you're building something truly massive, like planet-scale massive, you might eventually hit the ceiling on a single instance. And because it's a managed service, you don't get super user access to do some deep, low-level stuff. But that's the trade-off, right? That's what you get for having Google manage the system's health for you.
This little comparison really helps clear things up. If your goal is to build one single app that can scale across the entire planet, well, there's another tool for that called Cloud Spanner. But Cloud SQL's its sweet spot is for pretty much everything else. Your e-commerce sites, your CRMs, your SaaS platforms, all the apps that need amazing performance and reliability within a certain geographic region.
When you step back, a tool like Cloud SQL is really part of a much bigger trend. We're automating all of this complex operational work. It lets us stand on the shoulders of giants and focus our brainpower on creating amazing new things instead of just managing infrastructure. And that leaves us with a pretty interesting question to chew on. As these autopilot services take over more and more of the manual stuff, what's the next part of our job we're going to hand over?